Hello everybody, it is Wednesday evening, it is 8 o'clock here and we are back live for another Facebook session here in the group. As those of you who are observant may notice, I've got a bit of a different setup. I bought a new lighting ring. I still haven't quite worked out where to put it in the room, so for this evening I'm sitting on the sofa. Got all these lovely IKEA cushions here where I'm sitting, which works out very well because I'm actually quite tired this evening, I'm not going to lie, and then I'll tell you all in a minute part of the reason at least why that is. But hello, I'm hoping lots of you will join this evening. We have important things, always important things, but we have an incredibly important topic I think for this evening, which is all about how to set ourselves up for success, not only for the remainder of this year, but already, we're going to get a head start on next year. So hello, do say hi when you join. I'd love to know who's watching. I'm doing this on my phone now, so I'm hoping I can still see your comments. The setup is a bit different to what I usually have. Hello, Ben, good to see you. Glad you could make it live. How are you doing? I've just come on, so just giving a few minutes to see if a few more people join. I do want to say, as ever, welcome. I know there have been quite a few new members this week, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Anna Lundberg, and I'm the founder of One Step Outside. And it comes from the quote, actually, one step outside. Everything you've ever wanted is one step outside your comfort zone. And I love a few different elements of that. I love that we're growing and challenging ourselves and getting out of that comfort zone. But I also like the one step aspect, and a lot of the work that we do here is not taking that massive, risky, daring leap, although of course we do need a bit of courage when we're doing these things, but taking those little steps along the way. So hopefully that resonates, and I'm really happy to have you here in the group. I'm talking a lot about the things that are going on in the next few weeks. There is a lot. I gave the update probably yesterday, last week as well, so I won't go into too much detail, but we certainly do have a lot going on, so really happy to have you here in the Facebook group. So why don't we start right away with the topic? Let's make good sort of headway, is that a word, on the topic this evening. I was just saying, Ben, how tired I am this evening. And in the context of this topic, I'm talking about looking at our goals for 2018 and then seeing what we can still achieve for the remainder of the year. Now, we're into the beginning of September. I'm talking about it being back to school season. It is here in England at least. I don't have any children, but I feel like I'm coming back to school now after quite a bit of a long summer, I guess, off and on. And we have these 4 months now, basically, until Christmas. To be honest, we probably have about 3. If we're going to take off, we're only just settling in now. It's going to be mid-September before we know it. And then, of course, we have Christmas and everything that comes with that, if that's something that you celebrate. So 3 months, I'd say, until we need to start watching Love Actually and buying Christmas presents and eating lots of pies and things. So, I'm laughing about this, but I think it's incredibly important. I have talked every year since I started doing this at the beginning of the year, January, about New Year's resolutions, how about 8%, I don't know where that statistic comes from, but 8% of people who set resolutions actually fulfill them. And I've always tried to find a better approach to setting a theme for the year, to setting goals and setting milestones throughout the year. And we'll of course do that in December, January again this year, and I'll have refined that process even more. However, I don't think we want to wait until January, and I think for once, and this counts for me as well, for once I want to get to the end of the year, feel like yes, I have intentionally focused on the things I wanted to focus on, made the progress I wanted to make, and I am ready to hit the ground running when the dong goes on the clock at midnight in January. We don't want to wake up hungover, overweight, still in a miserable job and so on, and having to deal with sort of the harsh reality of 2019. We want to start it on a high. And actually my sister, hello to my sister if she's watching at some point, did for the last 2 years she's been doing a 10k race every 1st of January, which I think is amazing. So why not reframe the typical party night into something that really sets you off on a good footing. So the reason why I'm tired is that I've been doing this work and I've looked at my goals and I have quite a bit still that I want to do. So I've been talking a lot about the book that's coming out in just a few weeks, which I'm hoping is going to be massive inspiration and also concrete guidance for you. And for me personally, it's very meaningful. I've always wanted to be a writer, whatever that means, since I was younger. I write so much now as part of my work, and as for, I can imagine some of you as well, having that book in my hand is really such an achievement. And in particular, this book, it's just been sitting on my computer for so long. I've had it in mind for such a long time that it's going to feel amazing to finally get it out there. And thanks to working with my coach, she really pushed me to set a deadline. I set the 3rd of October, which is my birthday. So at least there'll be lots of people on my Facebook wall and saying hi to me, even though it's not an important birthday. So number 1 goal for me was my book. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. It's, it is absolutely, I can't wait literally to I'm enjoying the process and there's still lots to do, but I can't wait until I can actually say that I have it out there. So thanks so much. So that's one thing. The second thing, and the reason why I'm struggling this evening, is that I'm also alongside this trying to do the theory for my day skipper exam, because on Sunday I'm going off onto a yacht in the Solent, which is just off the south coast of England, sort of Southampton way, to do my day skipper practical. I did the competent crew back in April, I think. I was super lucky with the weather because a few weeks before it had been snowing, and I had a gorgeous week and I loved it so much. It's been so long since I went sailing. I used to go with my dad and my brother when I was little in the archipelago in Sweden, around all the islands. I did a course when I was like 17, 18, but that was a long time ago. And for whatever reason, I love it. I love the ocean, I love being on a boat, the fresh air, and the whole experience of it, navigating. And it's sort of been on my bucket list, and I've had it as one of those, I'd love to get my license. And it's kind of been on there. I think it is on my bucket list, which is 100 things that I want to do before I die. And I've just never done anything about it. So I was thrilled that I actually took the step to sign up to the course in April. There was this magical week in my calendar that had no projects or deadlines or anything, so I booked it. And in September, I'd kind of earmarked this week earlier on. More recently, I committed and actually paid the money. I knew it wouldn't be ideal a few weeks before the book and program launch and everything, but it means so much to me. And if you've been part of my community for a while, you know that I'm not just about pushing the business goals and the revenue and the sales and the clients and so on, and even the book, but really thinking holistically around all your different areas of your life. So well-being and relationships, and in this case, a combination of all these things, really, learning, having fun, and being out in nature. So I'm excited about that, but there is a lot to learn about tides and tidal streams and deviation and variation with compass bearings and all sorts. So I'm working hard on that the next few days. I want to be as prepared as I can. Now, the third thing for me is actually my podcast. And again, I started the year with these massive ambitions of everything I wanted to do. I wanted to launch the group program, which I'm now coming into the 3rd round of. I wanted to do the book and I wanted the podcast. I quickly realised I couldn't do all those 3 things at the same time. However, I'm hoping, or more than hoping, I'm setting the intention now to do the podcast as well once the book is up and running. So I've got the microphone, actually, I have the URL, I've got the hosting, I've got the graphic, I've got the ideas, of course. I just need to start recording and put it out there. So fingers crossed, everybody, for my sake, that that's going to be sort of the 3rd building block. Once I have done these things, now sailing is happening, book is happening, and with the podcast as well. I cannot tell you, I will be so thrilled with this year for so many reasons, but I'm really excited. I've worked hard, but I've also taken lots of time off and so on. Now, I'm not saying this to brag or to annoy you. I'm just saying that this has taken, intentionality around setting what the goals are, and then focus and work throughout the year, but also focus on not getting too caught up in that work and making sure I'm taking these breaks and fitting in time for friends and family, exercise, healthy eating. I had the most disgusting healthy meal this evening. It was tofu and Brussels sprouts and lentils and sweet potato. I don't know what I was thinking. I started off and I got a bit carried away, but I'm sure it's got good balance of proteins and carbs and everything, so I managed to eat it. But enough about me, let's look at you. And Ben, I don't know if you have already been thinking a little bit about, I've hinted at during the week, and I shared the blog post in terms of getting you ready, and anyone else who's watching the replay as well. So I just want to give you a few little tips and pointers there, and of course if you have any questions, let me know. And again, if you're watching the replay, I can answer your questions tomorrow or later in the week, so just let me know. But a couple of things first to get ready, and I'm very glad you can't see my room right now because I have a pile of sort of sailing gear that I'm trying to pack, and I've got computer stuff and book stuff, so I'm not quite walking the talk here. However, my first tip for you, if you've sent your kids off to school or if you've come back from holiday, is to do a bit of a clear out. I have over the years done a massive clear out since I left Switzerland. I left my flat. I have sold a lot of things on eBay. Old tech stuff is really good. Some branded things like handbags or shoes if you're lucky. I don't have a lot of branded things, but I've been able to, at least make several £100s on these things. And it's a great way to get a bit of extra savings buffer and also to get rid of stuff. Also, some little annoyances. I must admit, I still have this old laptop that I wanted to send off. I got a bit stuck because there was an issue with reinstalling the operating system. And now, of course, it's one of those things that's still lying there. So that's on my list to fix. Probably not a priority before I go sailing next week, but I'll do that as soon as I can. But those are the things that just kind of weigh on your mind. I see it every time I wake up. It annoys me. It sort of distracts me and takes energy from all the exciting things I want to work on. And of course, a messy room, I do think, really drags us down. We sleep worse, and we just don't feel well. It's not very feng shui. So I think that's a really important one. The second piece to get ready is actually to think about your well-being. And I've shared I'm doing this sort of 6-week program now after a summer that's been not so very healthy. So I'm doing quite a bit of HIIT and strength training. I'm eating these disgusting whole foods. It's not as bad as it sounds. I've been really enjoying it actually, but I've decided to take this time to really sort of get back into better habits. And if you are maybe feeling a little bit, lumpy or lazy after the summer period, whatever it is, maybe now is the time to get some good habits in place. Drink more water, go to bed earlier, turn off your devices, whatever it is, and look at sort of buying some better, more nutritious food, cut down on the coffee. I'm trying to cut down on mine a little bit at least. All those things. I don't need to patronise you by telling you, but we know what's healthy and we feel so much better. And again, if we don't postpone this until 1st of January, I think we're going to be off on such great footing for the beginning of the year. Not to mention that we're going to be able to benefit already now and not have to wait another 3-4 months. So those are the two foundations. I would suggest really decluttering, getting your space into a good place, your little office space, your bed, your home, anything that you want to sort of make feel like it's in a good place, good sort of systematic, not cluttered and so on. And then secondly, putting yourself in order as well, kind of physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it takes. So those are sort of the two areas to begin with. And then when it comes to your goals, if you were part of my community at the beginning of the year, we did this process, we did a webinar, I'm sure we did a couple of lives in terms of setting your theme, your goals, your business goals as well. So if you did do that, you can go back now and look at that. And again, we'll do this again at the end of the year and the beginning of next year. If not, I'm sure you've set some kind of goals for this year. So look back before you can look forward. Look at the goals you set at the beginning of the year. Maybe they were real goals that you really put up on a board and you have been taking action. Maybe they've just been those sort of intentions that you never actually got around to doing anything about. So what I want you to do is look back at those, look back at the goals and see where have you made the most progress? Where are your wins? It's so important to celebrate the progress that you make and reward yourself. So tell us, if you want to, the amazing progress you've made, the steps you've taken and so on. And secondly, look at the things that didn't quite go as planned. So maybe look at the lessons you've learned there. Was there something that didn't quite work out? It could be something completely out of your control, or you feel that you should have done it in a different way. And finally, look at which of these you're most frustrated about, because there can be lots of things. I could have, I'd like to study more Spanish, I'd like to play a bit more piano, I want to learn how to juggle. Those things are not really going to move the needle on my massive goals. I enjoy those things, it's fun, and I would like to do those, but there's no real purpose or meaning for them this year at least. So for me, I can sort of let those go. So it's important for you to really look at which of the goals are truly meaningful to you, and then see, actually, is this something you want to continue with? That's interesting, yeah. So when you have a lot of tasks that are dependent on each other, I think that's why they have those sort of project management systems, right? And we certainly at P&G, I had this amazing German guy called Bruno who had this fantastic software with a CPS that had all these dependencies. I actually, just as a sort of tactical tool that you might be able to use, Ben. I don't know if you have like a project management tool like Asana or what's the other one called? The Trello. I've been using Asana. I have the free version. And for my book, in fact, recently I've been using, there's a sort of a to-do list format and there's a board format. So I've been using the board where I have a column that was finish the content, editing and proofing, promoting, and there's another one, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is. There's probably something about the challenge and the program and so on as well. And that sort of really helped me to visualize. I think you have to pay in order to actually link them together, as you're saying, to say, okay, I need to first finish the content before I can edit, for example. But having it visual like that makes me sort of clear, at least having it. So that's one thing I'd say, having a tool like that, putting it up on your whiteboard. The other thing is to look at them and to think, okay, it might be a bit of chicken and egg. Maybe you can give an example and we can sort of try to break it down, or you can PM me afterwards so I can help you in a bit more detail. But obviously breaking it down and thinking, okay, what actually needs to come first? It may be able to happen in parallel depending on what it is. Sometimes, you know, we need to start taking action even though we're not yet sure, because we actually learn and get clarity from taking actions. There's an element of planning, and that leads to action, but the action also feeds back into the planning. So I'm afraid it's going to be, I guess that's the difficult answer, that it will sometimes be a little bit intricate like that. But if you give me an example, maybe we can dig into that a little bit more. But if we look back then at the goals, as I said, find the ones that are most frustrating to you. And then if we transition smoothly into looking towards the end of the year. Hi Mandy, great to see you. We're just looking at how we can focus on our priorities for the end of the year. So I've just been looking back at the goals we set ourselves at the beginning of the year, and then now we're looking at, okay, where are we most frustrated that we haven't made progress? What's really going to move the needle? And I was sharing some examples of, you know, learning to juggle or learn Spanish or play some more piano. They're nice, but they're not really going to change my life. And now looking forwards to see how we're going to set ourselves up. I'm just going to click to see if I can see your full comment, Ben, because I can only see the beginning of it. So I can only read the beginning. So don't know where to focus on setup of LMS and business structure, or work on the content of my course. Okay, so that's something that I definitely experienced when I was setting up my program. What I would say as an overall piece of advice, I guess, is don't get too caught in the technical setup and the back end stuff. The important thing is that you know who you're going to be targeting, that you're building your audience, that you're putting yourself out there, that you're going to have someone who's actually going to be interested in buying this course from you, and of course that you validated the course proposition and so on, that it's something that they really want and need. So the last thing you want to do is invest in all these tools and frameworks and software and so on, and then find that actually you know, the 6-month program that you've created, they would have preferred a simple 6-week email series or whatever it might be. So if that makes sense. I don't know again how far you've got, so I'll double click on your comment after the live so I can see the rest of your message. But that's just one warning, that don't get too caught up in the back end. The other is, I think, assuming that you know who you're targeting, you know what their end result is, you're trying to get them from A to B, let's say, you can work your way backwards, you can mind map the kind of content, the key messages that they need to have. And I think that would be actually thinking out loud the first step. And then based on that, you can think, okay, do I need this to be a really sort of sophisticated course setup where there are quizzes and modules and I need to be able to mark them, and one unit is dependent on another? Or can it be, as my membership site has actually ended up being, literally just sections, and each section has, you know, in my case, audio, video, PDFs and so on. I initially looked into getting course software, and in fact I even bought one, I think, and I just realised actually that's overly complicating things. So I would really encourage you to focus on who's your target client, what are you really helping them to do, and what's the best way to do that. Some people, again, don't want a 6-month, 12-month extravaganza that's going to help solve every problem. They just want a quick, 1-hour audio to listen to, or a 4-week program, or a worksheet, or whatever it is. So you also need to try these things and see what works. But that would be my general advice, without going too much into the detail of the software pros and cons. But we can always talk offline about that, because I did do a lot of research when I was doing this myself, Ben. But great example. And again, as you say, it is really critical to look at what to prioritise and what to do first, but unfortunately they do tend to happen in parallel. So looking at these goals, and Ben, I know, and it's amazing to see that you are really making massive progress here, so great, you've still got plenty of time until the end of the year, plus December and January, it's really an arbitrary calendar marking, isn't it? It's not really something that has any meaning, it's just that we as humans have kind of created this calendar. But looking then at seeing, is there something on that list? In my case, for example, there was the sailing, but also the podcast. The podcast, I've been paying the hosting all year. I've got the graphic, I've got the microphone. I want to get it out there. I'm really excited now. I've got so many ideas, and it's going to be talking about reimagining success, which is something that I'm so excited and passionate about as well. And I think if I didn't launch that by the end of the year, I'd be really disappointed. I think it's an important part of my business strategy. It's a long-term strategy. It's going to take a lot of time and consistent participation or work from my side. I know it can take years for a podcast to actually have an impact. But in terms of sort of the message that I want to put out there, and again, in terms of my own personal fulfillment, it's a really critical step. So for me, that's something I've identified that I want to do by the end of the year. So looking at your list of goals, what is it that's important? Is it launching a particular program or product? Is it raising your prices? Is it getting your first clients? Is it getting more clients? Is it even coming up with your business idea? If so, we've got a Facebook group challenge right here in a few weeks. So really think about what is the biggest priority now for you. Looking back on your goals from the year, but also maybe you've come up with a new goal. What can you still make a difference on now over the next 3-4 months looking forward? So that's really important. And then actually to sort of almost tie things together already, usually I would say the next step would be to plan. There's so much benefit from really thinking through what does success look like for you, what's the deadline, what are the milestones, and so on. Oh, the network connection's gone off a bit for some reason, even though I'm on Wi-Fi, so hopefully you guys can still see me. Apologies for that. So usually I would say that you should plan. However, given that this might be something, in my case, for example, that I've been procrastinating on, that I haven't been prioritizing, I would really encourage you, once you've identified that one big priority, to take it and then look at what your next step is. What is a step you can take today, if it's not too late as it is here in England? Can you email someone, call, research, ask for information, sign up to something? I talked to someone the other day who was looking into different coaching programs, and his step was to actually purchase that program to become a coach himself, and so on. So get really clear on what action can you take, and if you want public accountability, tell us in the comments what you're going to do, and what your goal was, and why it's so important to you, and what you're going to do. And feel free to private message me as well if you don't want to share it publicly, but it's always good to have that public accountability. So Mandy, I know you've also made, you want to purchase your first investment property. So you've made great progress, haven't you? You've had a few different ones that you're looking at. Do you think that's realistic now? And is it fully in your control, would you say? Because that's of course important. Something like the podcast for me is fully in my control. It's sort of an action step that I'm taking. Whereas, let's say if I wanted 1,000 listeners on my podcast, or if I wanted, I want to get 10 people into my group program this time, that's not fully in my control. I can certainly do everything in my power to communicate the value to you all, to support you, to talk about the benefits and so on. But there's only so much I can do on my side, and then there's the element of the other person and whatever in the world. So in that case, I think with the investment property, there are a few things that need to fall into place, but I think it's a great intention to set, Mandy, in terms of prioritising that and knowing that you are taking action towards that, and if not by the end of the year, then certainly very soon after. But that's a great one. So congratulations and fingers crossed. I'm sure you're you're doing everything you can to make that work. But then what do you say? Remortgage in place. Great. Just need to go out and find properties that haven't already been sold. Yes, that's a bit of an issue. I have to say I'm looking to move, and it's not been the most fun experience. It's pretty difficult. The market's quite good here in England. It's quite flat and declining. So it's a good buyer's market, but it's pretty sort of complicated and stressful experience, really. It's quite emotionally draining. So I think it's a bit different when it's an investment property than when it's your personal place that you're going to be living in. But I can imagine that it's tough. But that's great news that you've got the remortgage in place, so you're ready to go. And again, even if we don't, actually I should say this is the caveat, even if we don't get to the ultimate goal right away, the fact that we've set that intention means that we are going to make way more progress than we would have done if we hadn't done that. So there's that sort of cheesy thing about, reach for the stars and you might at least land in the treetops, and I think that's important too. But I know that you guys can do this. Ben, by the way, what's your goal? Do you have a specific goal for the end of the year? Do you want to have this course up and running? What's your action step? I'd love to hear from you as well, what your goal is and what your priority is. But I think I'll leave you there. As I said, I'm a bit tired and I'm sure you guys are too. I'd love for you to spend some time on the things we've discussed, either if you've been doing it live along with me now or if you take a few minutes afterwards. Get your house in order, get your mind, body and spirit in order, and then look back at your goals, find the ones that are most meaningful to you, that are going to really move the needle on your happiness, success, your health, whatever it is you want to sort of measure against by the end of the year, and then decide on that goal, commit to it, publicly commit in this group if you want, as Mandy has done, and then also take action. So there is a reason why you haven't been taking action. Probably there's some kind of fear of changing, uncertainty, and so on. At some point we just have to do it. We have to take action. If it's been on your list all year, for years, either let it go and think, nope, not important, I won't do it this year, or now is the time to redouble your efforts, take action and make this happen. And as I said the other day, I want us all to get to the end of the year and go, oh yeah, baby, or whatever equivalent phrase that you'd like to use. I was going to use something else there. Instead of, ugh, I can't wait for next year, I can't believe I wasted this, I wish I had, if only, and all that regret, which is really sort of soul destroying. So I want you guys all to feel amazing about really stepping things up towards this end of the year. We've got those 3-4 months now, so let's make it a good one. But great questions, guys, and thanks so much for sharing the progress you've made. Keep them coming, and I'll be checking in and reading more after the session as well. So thanks so much. We will be continuing, of course, on this sort of topic and building on this over the next few weeks, and hopefully providing more training and resources to help you. You're all working on different aspects, but trying our best to make sure that we can keep you focused on your goals. Great to hear that you're feeling supported and motivated. That's what I want to hear, Ben. That's what I'm here for. So as ever, let me know if you have any questions or anything that I can provide to help you in the coming weeks and months, and I'll double click on your question as well, and we can take that offline if you want to continue asking those questions. But thanks so much for joining live. Thanks for watching the replay. I'll see you back in a group this week, and of course next week for the next Facebook Live as well. Oh, in fact, I'll be on a boat next week, so I am going to try to do a live, but it'll probably be more sort of a, hi, I'm on a boat, kind of motivational, kicking sort of little short speech rather than a full-on training session. So you've got a bit of a break next week. So there you go. But apart from that, we'll be very much staying focused the rest of the autumn season. So thanks again for joining. Love to have you here, and I'll see you very soon. Keep up the good work. Bye for now. Ooh.